Welcome back to the Weekly Manga Podcast. This is the podcast where we talk about all of your favorite ongoing Japanese manga. This week there is a new bonus chapter of Attack on Titan that Isayama just released, so that's wild. We're also going to be talking about Iruma-kun chapter 362, and Akane Sensei is in the middle of one of the best and most stunning Rakugo performances of all time. So we will get into that in Akane Banashi chapter 124. All that, manga news, and more coming right up. Hello again, my name is Bruce. I am the proprietor of the White Gray Black YouTube channel, and this week I'm joined again by my constant co-host, Gautam.
Hello, hello.
Special shout out to our Patreon subscribers, of course, Yaji Black. If you're interested, want to support us and have your name read at the top of the episode, see some bonus content, check out patreon.com/WGBmanga. It's only $3. Cool. Let's get into it. Let's start, I guess, with a new Attack on Titan chapter, which I was not expecting to drop. There was an announcement earlier in the week. We'll talk a little bit about in the news, I think, but there's going to be an announcement in a couple of days here on some new project for Attack on Titan. It's probably a pachinko machine. It's probably not a big deal, but it's a
popularity poll, bro.
Yeah, the thing is, you never know. They'll say like, "Hey, new project for X property," and sometimes it's like a collaboration with ramen, and sometimes it's like we're gonna write a whole second series. Like, you never know.
You know what? Make it like a cool product for once. Make it like actual 3D maneuver gear, and then I'd be satisfied.
That would be
there would be a lawsuit.
There would be
deaths. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But anyways, this is officially marked as chapter 139.5, which is technically, like the middle chapter after the last chapter of the series. So, and just FYI, if you're listening, there's really not spoilers in this at all. There's a little bit of backstory for Levi, but it does not spoil any of the twists or turns in Attack on Titan. So if you're concerned about that, feel free to keep listening. So, I maybe just spoil the end of it. This is like a shitpost joke chapter, and it's hilarious. I don't know. I love it.
Yeah, it's like weird, right?
Because it is weird.
It's both like a meaningful backstory chapter that shows us like Levi's past and like his mom and the way he like treasures her and all that stuff, and the awakening of his competencies, like how good he is at everything. But it's also a shitpost joke, and it's also just a badass like gore fest a little bit.
Yeah, I mean it's funny because that's like Attack on Titan is a lot of that. Like, it loses a little bit of its humor in the back half just because it goes very serious, but like there's a lot of like fun kind of humor in Attack on Titan. I mean, who's the potato? Sasha, I think is her name. Like, she's a goofy character.
Sasha, yeah.
There's a lot of goofy fun stuff in it. I mean, like Attack on Titan finished before we started the podcast because it finished, I guess, mid 2022. We started podcast late 2022, but this is one of my favorite manga series I've ever read. I would probably put this maybe third behind like Monster and Nausicaa. I think those two are my maybe swap top two spots. This, I think, is probably my third favorite, like, completed manga. It's fantastic. I love it. Gautam, you still owe me a reading of this from like 5 years ago.
Like, listen, that's not the bet. The bet is I promised Bruce that if he read 100 chapters of One Piece, I knew he'd get hooked if he read 100.
And it did. But I read them.
But yeah, that I would watch Bakemonogatari.
Is that what it was? Okay, I thought it was you were going to read.
To be fair,
Titan,
but to be fair to Bruce, that I still haven't done that, so I didn't deliver on my.
And that was, I'm trying to think, that was 20.
That was like 5 years ago,
I think.
Yeah.
Yes, and I started.
With that said, I got to finish Attack on Titan, man. It is so fucking good.
So good.
I am in the end game of that series, and I really like it. I don't know why I haven't finished it. I just should.
Yeah, it's a good one. I was reading it week to week or I guess month to month for a couple of years. But so this chapter is about sort of Levi as a child. Again, we see here his like connection to his mom. He gets jumped by guys because the world of Attack on Titan is really shitty sometimes. And he's just kind of getting beat up and stuff.
They all look like Titans, which I think is like perfect for how Levi views the world.
Well, I mean, and Levi's also like canonically like incredibly short. I think he's
Yeah,
like
but
five,
I mean, like, their
exactly 5
faces.
feet tall or something, or like 5'1". I don't know.
Yeah, he's a short stack for sure. But I mean, like, their faces are very much just Titan faces, right?
I think
like all the
that's
bandits.
that's
Intentional.
seeing new characters designed by Isayama, and you're like, oh, I haven't seen this character. It looks like a Titan because I'm used to him drawing so many Titan faces. I don't know.
Maybe. I feel like it's like an intentional kind of.
I think a
thing to
lot of
show.
the posing down here, like especially the big guy with the long, like
Big guy, right?
that guy looks like a Titan. Like, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. Same with the dude behind him on the right. Like, that guy looks like
Yeah,
a
for
Titan.
sure. Like if you showed me pictures of these two like out of context, I'd be like, oh yeah, Titans from Isayama.
Yeah.
Man, can I just comment that Isayama's art is improved to a level that, like, the start of Attack on Titan is rough. Some of the art, he's a good artist now. Like he wrote Attack on Titan for 10 years. The guy is a good artist now. Like he has his own unique style, which is very kind of sketchy. It reminds me like a little bit of like Chainsaw Man kind of art, where it's very.
It's rough.
It's
I don't
rough
know.
and
It's
messy, but that's
gritty.
not. It doesn't. It's not like a detractor. It's just kind of a style. So
I think there's still some rough art in this chapter as well, but it's like, I don't think it's bad art because it works for this series. I don't know why I think that way, but it's just like, yeah.
I guess
Anyway,
minor gore
context-
warning if that
Yeah.
triggers you here.
Real quick, what happens is that Levi's mom's goods, like her china and like dishware and all that stuff, it was pawned off so they can eat. She's dead now, and Levi is trying to get it back from these assholes.
Yeah.
These like bandits. And yeah, they beat the shit out of him, and they're like, should we sell this guy? And the main dude, who is this I don't know, aristocratic looking fucker,
Yeah, I got the glasses.
is like, yeah, this son of a whore, born beneath the ground, doesn't know anything, blah 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 blah. He's just being a real asshole. And yeah, they beat the shit out of Levi and are about to like kill him or sell him or enslave him or something.
Yeah.
And that's what happened so far.
This is one of those wild things that you forget about, is like brought up like once or twice in Attack on Titan and totally glossed over, is that like underneath the island in the city that all of the main characters mostly were born and grew up on, there's an entire underground city where like bad people go and are raised. Like this is where Levi is from and where Kenny the Butcher is from. There's just like a whole underground city. It's barely touched on in Attack on Titan.
I'm not sure I ever knew that. I'm not sure I ever knew that before this chapter.
The only time you see it, I think, is in I don't remember if it's Kenny or Levi who actually has the flashback or who you're following, but like the flashback of Kenny raising Levi and like finding Levi and stuff, that's like the only time you see it, and it's mentioned. It's like, oh yeah, there's like an underground city underneath the main part of Attack on Titan, and then it like never comes up again. Is never important.
Yeah.
It's just it's wild. And like coming back to this, I was like, oh yeah, there's an entire underground like culture and city in Attack on Titan that
I guess it's fair. People bounced off the politics, like a lot of viewers who just wanted to see carnage bounce off the politics.
Yeah, it wasn't that.
I guess we can skip this part of world building and just leave it as a thing that exists.
Yeah. So after all these guys are abusive and beat him up, his I didn't grab the panel of it, but his I guess here's the sort of minor spoilers for Attack on Titan. Levi and his family has like I guess I'll just say there is a special family thing that they have that makes them very strong, and that triggers in him, and then he just rips a dude's face off, which this is like, I was happy for this because this is classic Attack on Titan, where you're like, you're like, oh yes, action is about to happen. You're like, no, incredibly scary violence. Like,
yeah. And it's like very cathartic violence because Levi's just badass. He's just great.
Yeah. Also, man, I love that it's like, yes, you're showing the guy with his face ripped off, but also Levi is already like assaulting the other guys in the back, like quickly.
Yeah. Like it's so quick that they're still like loading boxes. Like they haven't even reacted to what happened yet fully, and Levi's dead sprinting at them like a nightmare creature.
Yeah,
it's great.
Which he is. I also really liked like this, man.
That's awesome.
I wish Isayama would come back and do something. I don't think he's going to, but I should read Attack on Titan. That's what I should do, because like, man, or watch it all.
Very cool action art.
That's the thing is,
he grabs a dude's neck and you imagine he's gonna snap his head, but he snaps like the top part of his head in half and rips his jaw off. Like it's crazy. It's crazy violence.
Yeah, it's wild violence. and this is what we're talking about when we talk about Isayama's art is a little rough and sketchy, but like the flow and the paneling and the way this action looks is like exceptional. I think he's always been really good at staging and choreography and stuff like that. Like even the start of Attack on Titan, his like the best panels, the best art are like his big spreads. I think have always been good. Like I don't think that those are ever bad. So, and then yeah, he sort of the funniest part of the chapter. Maybe not the funniest, but a part that I liked was he's talking to he like kills all the other dudes except for the main guy, and he's talking to him, and the main guy's like, they're gonna get, like, you killed 9 of my men, they're gonna get you for this, and Levi's just like, they're not gonna believe that a little boy killed all those people, and then it just cuts away from the scene, and it's like,
and it just like shows him throwing.
It shows him like throwing the dude off, which is like,
yeah,
it's so wild, and then we get him.
The funny part,
yeah, we get him making tea using his mom's thing, like kind of rough, and then we get the joke, which is he picks up the teacup by the handle and it falls and breaks and he's crying, and then he's talking to some of the court. He's like, from that day on I vowed to never hold a cup by the handle again. He's like, I'm so sorry I made fun of the way you held your cup, Captain. I vowed to never use a handle either. He's also holding it with his fingers inside it, which is just like goofy.
Yeah, like why are you doing that? Do you think he broke that cup because of super strength that he might have, or is it like?
No, I think it was just beat up and old.
Yeah, and he's just traumatized himself a little bit.
Yeah, because I mean, we see Levi and Mikasa and people do regular things. They aren't like they are not like always strong. They have the like strength that triggers, and then they just like go insane. So yeah. Little minor shit
very
post.
Funny ending to this chapter that was actually like quite meaningful and interesting before the shitpost, but it's like a very good joke at the end. I don't know. It was a fun Attack on Titan special chapter.
Yeah, and brings back a lot of fan favorites, Levi and Levi and people here. So yeah, I
don't know who all the people at the bottom are. Maybe...
I think this is Sasha. I think right, and then I think that's
Connie.
Yeah, I don't remember. It's been like 2 years since, over 2 years technically, since I've read Attack on Titan. So, but yeah, I don't. This really makes me want to reread it because like that, it's such a fantastic series. So,
yeah, no, that was a great chapter. Levi's a great character. Yeah, fun little return to the world.
Yep, and I think this is reminding people that Attack on Titan exists right before we get some kind of announcement. So I don't know. Maybe Isayama's going to be like, I'll write more or write it, redraw the first 50 chapters or so when his art was more rough. That would actually be pretty sick if he did that. You wouldn't have to rewrite anything. You just kind of redraw the panels, but who knows?
I doubt he'll do that.
I don't think so.
He's already done with it. All right. Yeah.
Cool.
Let's go on to Iruma.
Let's go on to Marimashita Iruma-kun.
Yeah.
Gautam, you read this weekly, and I don't. Although I did read this chapter, so fill me in. What's going on here?
Yeah, let me give you some context first. Basically, Iruma is in this world. The Demon King just randomly vanished. He's a human boy going to like Demon Academy. Everyone thinks he's a demon though. The Demon King has vanished, and they're looking for a successor. And they're looking at a few candidates, and Iruma's one of them because his grandpa's important, but he's just a human boy, right? How is he going to be a successor? But like when asked, like, what is his, like by the people who decide, like, what is your ideal demon world? He didn't really have an answer for them. He didn't know. And now we're here, like, a lot of stuff has happened since now and then, and he is doing like an exam to kind of review his candidate, like review how good he would be as a king. Despite him not knowing that that's what this is about. He's been like put in charge of this race called the Many Ears. And essentially he is told to become king of this race and kind of bring them in line with the rest of the demons. The secret condition to the exam is that he would fail the exam if he became the king. The actual goal is for him to pick a king. Because one king can't rule like everything, right? You have to have other managers underneath you, kind of managing, kind of a thing. But yeah, essentially, the character that presumably he's going to make king, right, is of the many ears, their only competency as demons, they're kind of a weak race. They can hear super duper duper well. But among them are these black-eared ones that can't hear super well. They can hear average. But that means their one core competency is not there. So they, like the black-eared ones, are kind of, as this character says, thought of as a tumor among their race and treated with kitty gloves and kind of have their dreams squashed.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have unrealistic expectations of their own future. Essentially, he was told that, hey, this is impossible for our race. We shouldn't be schooling them on magic and all that stuff. Don't even try, because you're just going to give these kids unrealistic expectations. Is what Iruma and this kid, who's also like trying to help out, is told.
Mm.
And the kid gets really upset and runs away, because ultimately it's like a reflection on how not only his race views him, but how they are all viewed, right? It's like, just give up kind of an attitude. If you don't have the core competencies needed to survive and compete, give up. And Iruma goes to talk to him, and that's effectively what this chapter is about. I thought it's just a talking chapter, but it's a really good one.
Yeah. Out of context, even reading this, I enjoyed it, and I thought it was heartfelt and had some good things to say. So,
yeah. And essentially, he said he's not upset that he's being perceived this way, but that future generations will be perceived this way too. It's like, don't you feel sorry for them? And one, I think is like great writing, because like someone with that thought process should be king of this race, right?
Yeah.
Worried about not themselves, but the future of their people.
Yeah. What's the saying? It's like old men who plant trees that they'll never see the shade of. Something
yeah,
like that. Like
exactly.
you should plant trees that you will never see the shade of to help like the next generation. There's something like that. So
very much so. Exactly. That's right on point. Essentially, Iruma at this point, I think it's in the next page, is
I don't think I can grab every page.
He realizes the answer to the question from all those many chapters ago, like what kind of like netherworld or demon world will you create, right? Mm. That only he can create is one that is and he lands on one that is accepting of people, because Iruma can't do anything either, right?
Yeah.
He's managed through making strong bonds with people that only he can make, because he's a fluffy little guy who cares about everyone. A trait that is not known among demons, because they're all ambitious creatures. Is to support people like this, right? Support people like himself and people that need help. People that may not have the strength or core competencies that society perceives they should, but they have other ones that society doesn't value, right?
Yeah.
And he said, even though you're struggling, you're looking further ahead than anyone else.
Yep.
And I thought that was great, because he learned something about himself, and he saw something in someone else that's like, I don't know, very special.
Yeah. The thing that really struck me about this chapter, reading it just sort of out of context even, was that the black-eared kid here, the thing that really struck me about him was that he knows that he has sort of he has like a major shortcoming. You know, he has like a disability basically in the world.
Effectively.
But he also is, you know, from this page right here, he's also like sort of ambitious and driven, and doesn't feel like it's holding him back, and is able to sort of do his best outside of that. And I think that's like it's like a good thing to have when you have a disability, but it's also something that a lot of people with disabilities realize that other people often don't have. And so you can't treat everyone that has, you know, an issue that holds them back from things in a way that they're all going to be able to sort of compensate for those shortcomings in other ways. So you want to be able to sort of like help with the shortcomings in the first place, which this is like, I have like a little bit of personal relation to this, right? Like I have type 1 diabetes, and I'm generally like from what my doctors have told me over the years, I'm generally like very good at taking care of myself with it. I haven't always been. But it's one of those things where it's like, I know that there are other people with type 1 diabetes that are not as good at taking care of themselves as I am. And so I, need to do as good as I can with that and with other things so that they can have an easier time later on, right? Like help out with research stuff I've done in the past, stuff like that. So this, not like a direct correlation thing, right? But it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, like I get this. Like you have a shortcoming and you have to work harder to do the other things to sort of make up for it. And that like means that the other people to shortcoming.
More direct than you think.
Yeah,
I completely agree. I think that's more direct than you think, and I think that's like the intent here. And I think it's on top of everything we've said, right? It's I think it's like this is why I say Iruma is distilled optimism. Mm-hmm. It's like I think it's beautiful in the way that despite working hard, this character is still crushed by the weight of the world and needs support, and that's what people need to give each other, right?
Yeah.
And Iruma is here because he can relate and is very willing. And this is what this character, the black-eared kid, wants to give to his people. Iruma's here to support him. And it's like a chain reaction, a little bit.
You heard it here first. Iruma building democratic socialism.
And, okay, well, here's the catch, right? You go to the next page.
I don't remember which one I got. Yeah, the carrots?
Yeah. So basically, in one of their, like, teaching magic to these many-eared folks, this kid grew a carrot, and it was the goddamn most delicious carrot. And he's like, okay, now we have a tangible fucking idea. Let's market. I'm assuming they're gonna market the fuck out of this carrot.
Yeah.
Because they have a special product now. Hell yeah, capitalism.
Yeah. But also, let's make sure that we help all the people using the Black King wants to be a government, a ruler, a king, right? So
yeah, using the constructs of our society, we need tangible. We can't just have ideals, right? So let's sell this fucking carrot, baby.
Sell the carrots to help the other kids you can't hear as well, which is using the government king. I'm joking, but legitimately, this chapter is like maybe not proof, but like is a like you could tie this to something like a socialist like government, right? Like this guy wants to be a ruler so that he can help other people who also have issues by being the ruler and helping them, and then this is the way to spreading that wealth, right? Is getting wealth through the carrots, and then I don't know. Exactly. That's how I see it.
That's how Iruma probably sees it too, right? And this I think it's this is why I'm like excited about that new series by the
we'll talk about that in the news.
Okay. Yeah, we'll come back to it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's just I think if anyone is looking for like a really optimistic shonen series, shonen type series, Iruma is definitely one of them. It might seem like it plays a lot of beats you're used to, but it plays the beats in different ways. Mm-hmm. It's refreshing and it's like optimistic in a way that I feel like it's not like ham-fisted or shoved down my throat. It just feels like naturally positive.
It's like earnest and
yeah.
And
seriously.
this is a incredibly popular series in Japan, and there is no official. We were talking about this earlier. There's actually no official translation of this in the West, which is crazy. I mean, there's like 300. This has been going on for almost 10 years now, I guess, if it's a weekly series. So yeah,
I wonder if it's because there's so much of a backlog, but I feel like that's just money on the table, right? Like it's going to be popular if you just make an I don't think that there's physical copies of it either. I checked. This is a Kodansha manga, so I checked K manga, and it's not on there. So if you Google official translation Iruma-kun, nothing comes up. So yeah, pretty sad. There is a lot to translate, and that does cost a lot of money. Well, it cost not a lot of money. It costs money to pay those translators. I'm sure I know there's people who'd be willing to do it, but Yeah, exactly. Who knows? I feel like it should have one though.
Yeah,
anything, right?
I think it might be coming. Someone, I don't know, maybe not. I feel like Kodansha is silly for leaving it on the table, or the Viz or whoever is wants to license it, not licensing it seems crazy. Because this is an incredibly popular series. So,
well, I'm glad it's not on K manga, to be honest.
Yeah, that's whatever. It would just die like almost everything else on K manga. So.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else on Iruma-kun we want to talk about?
Nope. That's about it.
Cool. Let's move on to Akane Banashi, chapter 124. Man, this is this is the best written series in Jump right now. Like it's like
so good.
One Piece comes and goes, is always very good also, but like Akane is so consistent and so good. I am stunned continually. I keep thinking like, oh man, Akane is so good, it can't get any better. It's just gonna stay this good, and then it does something like this, and it gets better, and it's crazy.
Dude, I get chills reading some of these chapters. It's like that's how good it is. It makes like it's a story about storytelling, which is already hard to do. It makes that hype, and it's like a manga, so you're not even hearing like the intonation or delivery of any of this. It's all like delivered on the page. I'm just so impressed by Akane.
It's an incredible thing, and
yeah,
you brought up something that I was gonna bring up too, which is that this is a manga about Rakugo, which is a audiovisual performance, like in-person thing. But yeah, storytelling about storytelling, like that shouldn't work, but if you're good at storytelling, it like multiplies how good it is, which is what Akane is doing. Which is like, if you're bad at storytelling and you try to make a story about storytelling, it's going to be awful. But if you're really good at storytelling and you make a story about storytelling, it's like doubly as good. So
yeah,
this is the so in these chapters, the last I think 2, and then this one, this is the first time we have seen one of the Shiguma like masters do Rakugo on stage. We have seen some of the sort of like tier 2 guys. We've seen a guy get promoted kind of into the under, like the full, there's sort of like a full Rakugo master. Then there's these guys, which are like the old masters. There's, I think 3 or 4 of them. I don't remember. But this is the first time we've seen Akane's.
One of the, this one is Shiguma.
Shiguma.
Arakawa master.
Arakawa master. There you go. Yeah, Arakawa. I was like, I knew there was a name in there. Yeah, so this is like, and when he was performing, you're like, okay, like, what is it going to be? This is, like one of the big guys, like one of the masters. We have not seen any of these guys perform Rakugo in 122 chapters or whatever, and he's finally doing it, and it's like on track to be one of the best performances, and they're all really good performances.
And real quick, there was like a hype moment in the chapter before this where they mentioned that, like, he's like the Rakugoka of like death or something like that, because a fire alarm like malfunctioned and went off, and like the theater owner was scrambling to like see everyone in the theater, just like make sure they're not panicking or whatever, and nobody had, like, while it was blaring, nobody had left their seats because they were so entranced by the story he was telling.
Yeah, which
is already a hype setup for this story that we're seeing.
That is, right? It's like foreshadowing of like, look how powerful this guy you're about to see is. But yeah, so he is currently telling a story. I don't remember the name of the story. I think the story is just called Shinigami, like death god, god of death or whatever. So we're kind of in the middle of that story. This little death god guy sort of comes to, in the story, 3 layers deep here. In the story that Shiguma is telling, there is a sort of a guy, I think, who asked to die. Death God shows up and tells him here in this chapter, like be a doctor. And he says, like, anyone whose spirit grows heavy ends up haunted by a god of death. If it sits at their head, that's a sign that a patient's time has come. You mustn't fight that one. But if it stands at their feet, just recite this magic spell. And, he just kind of says, say these words, do the magic spell. And man, I think that one of the things that makes Akane so good is that because there's no audio here, right? It's kind of the missing thing, right? There's a visual element to manga. There's a written storytelling element that's very similar. The sort of visuals have to pull more weight, and I think that they like always do. Like even on this first page, right? Like he's looking down, and then you get like his sort of like sly smile going into like he's playing the Shinigami, the death god right now. And then this like when he claps, the sort of like empty space here, and the god like, and you're like in the scene, we have like black background and the forest and stuff going on, and then he like does the clap and the blank, and then we're back on stage. Like this is like fantastic visual storytelling here. Like it's so good. It's hard to stress how good it is when you're reading it because you don't notice it unless you're really looking for it.
And on the page, like the god of death has like very creepy eyes, like skewed eyes. And whenever he's playing the god of death, you don't see his eyes. It's like covered in shadow, right? It's a little creepy. I like that too. It's all very good.
Well, and I mean, it's also a thing, right? That, and this is something that again visually is very interesting. Is that in these entire 2 pages, right? Shigema is playing both of these characters on stage, right? That's what Rakugo is. It's like it's a one-person performance playing multiple characters, telling a story. But it is framed visually on these pages as like Shigema talking to the god of death. Like it never shows in these pages like him doing like, it never shows him as the actual character playing the god of death. It just shows the god of death, which again is like a visual way to pull you into the story, to separate it out. Like it's just so good. It's hard to stress how good it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in the story he's telling, he tells the guy to be a doctor, to do this thing. I like that. I know that Rakugo is kind of like this lots of times, where it's like they're all a little funny, even the dark ones. And I thought that's funny that in the story he's like, hey, I told you, like, if a god of death is sitting at the patient's head, you can't cure it. They're just gonna die. He's like, but you waited for the god of death to fall asleep and then spun the bed around and cast the spell to make it go away. I think that's just goofy as hell.
Yeah, that's great.
So the in the story, the Shinigami makes the doctor like follow him into this cave. And yeah, again, like it's hard to like. This is like 4 layers deep, right? Like I am describing a manga about a man telling a story. Like we're in too deep here. Go read the chapter. But yeah, I
think it's making sense. I hope.
Yeah, the Shinigami takes him in the story into a cave. He's like, please guide me along, blah, blah, blah. He's like, I'll show you an entire world. Yeah, this is where, I can't remember who is doing this voiceover, but these square boxes here start describing Shigema's style, which I think is really cool. They say, like, with just minimum of speech and gestures, he shows you an entire world and draws you deep into it. But Master Shigema's brilliance lies in between nin and humorous wrinkles, many Rakugo could try to add color to their stories, but Master Shigema's brilliance lies in the opposite approach. The beauty of subtraction.
Yeah.
He's essentially
so
like
cool.
Master of minimalism, which I think is cool. Like I'm a big minimalist, like personally, and I think this is cool.
Yeah. And I think I'm glad we're finally seeing him perform. He is such a huge character in the series that we hadn't got a ton on until these last like 5 or 6 chapters. So
yeah.
It's,
we got a little bit of sort of shared history with him and the other masters and what had happened in the past and stuff. But yeah, again, we've never seen him perform, never seen any of the masters perform, so it's big. And so the sort of beauty of subtraction, we get a little flashback here of him teaching Akane of like, hey, like, do we know why we tell stories while we're on our knees in the formal position? There's a name for that in Japanese, I don't remember, but he's like, it immobilizes the performer's lower half. Like, there's minimal movement, no props on stage, right? The only prop they get, I think, is their fan that we've seen people use in the past. And yeah, the way it's described here, I just love. Like, by paring down as much as possible, you leave room for imagination, and there's nothing that can be anything. So where there is nothing, there can be anything. It's like it's like the human imagination is vast and boundless, and like that. Yeah, and then we get this like amazing panel. And this is this is so sick because this is a combination of Shigema on stage with people watching him, right? Like this is the audience watching him displayed as the cave in the story he's telling that the doctor has got into, full of candles and like dark demons or something. Like, I don't know, it's so good.
I think exactly. It's like, I think it's also like a little bit representative of that they're willing to be consumed by fire to hear this out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It is definitely, part of this is definitely people being completely enraptured by his storytelling. It's like the audience is also in the cave with the doctor, and so is Shigema, and that's kind of the point of Rakugo there. And then the end here is just like, watch closely. Your master doesn't bring people here without a good reason. Like, you'll surely see if this performance holds a special meaning for you. So we're going to get more of how this is personal to Akane. This is kind of, Akane performed before him or after him? I don't remember. I think she performed before him, right?
Before him.
Yeah, because this is like his big, I think he does like a yearly, performance in, I think they're in like Shibuya, like somewhere big. or Shinjuku. I don't remember. Well,
I forgot the exact spot, but yeah,
I think it's Shinjuku. Yeah, I don't remember, but it's a big thing. But yeah, I just like my personal taste and styles is very much in the direction of less is more, and minimalism is often more effective. And when you over design or over complicate things, they lose, beauty, I guess you could say. So this is like, I love this. Like, the reason I'm bringing this chapter this week is like, I fucking love this style of art in general. So,
and I think what's amazing about Akane is that it like shows this is like the style Shiguma has, but everyone has their own, and it's all unique, and it all works. It just works differently. I think that's such a cool way of telling a story. It's like you have to understand this art form on such a thorough level, and art in general.
Yeah, I mean, I'm about to say it. Like, I'm not super familiar with Rakugo. I watched that one Rakugo anime a while ago that was very good, and then I've read Akane. Like, that's my familiarity with Rakugo. But like,
same.
Even then, it doesn't matter because it speaks to sort of art on a general level.
Agreed.
Yeah, I really love this. Like, by paring down as much as possible, you leave room for imagination. This is something that I think is really important in, especially the books that I read. A lot of people, there's lots of different kinds of books by different kinds of writers, and a lot of people really like very flowery and detailed language that sort of describes a scene perfectly, and I really don't like books like that. And there's a lot of books like that, right? Like, I very much prefer a very simplistic description style because I have a very active imagination and I want to fill the world. I need you to give me enough to trigger my imagination to start working and then get out of the way so I can do the rest. And I think that is stronger and more personal for me, at least. I think for a lot of people too, right? I think a lot of the authors that I enjoy are pretty broadly enjoyed. I bring him up pretty often, but I think Brandon Sanderson does this, right? He's known for having very sort of simple, like generally simple prose and diction and things in his stories. He does not usually over-describe or get very flowery or poetic, and I like that because that means that all he's doing is setting a stage and triggering my imagination to fill in all the blanks, and I can do that because I have an active imagination, and I enjoy that a lot more, and that really ties me into the art that I'm consuming a lot. And it's one of the reasons why I like books and manga so much too, right? Manga, you are only shown specific moments, and your imagination is allowed to fill in what happens between the panels, and because I personally have an active imagination, one of the reasons I love manga, I mean, almost 2 years of doing this podcast and more of reading manga is like, it's one of my favorite art forms because it lets me, it gives me a lot and it lets me fill in gaps with my imagination. So it gives me sort of best of both worlds.
Agreed, man. I feel the exact same way. And I didn't know we'd go in on Tolkien, but here we are.
Yeah, no, I mean,
floweriest post.
I've tried to read those books and I can't. So
yeah,
a more fitting comparison would be who's the guy who wrote like Oliver Twist and The Christmas Carol? Dickens. Charles Dickens spends in, I don't remember which book it is, but he spends like 11 pages describing a woman's gray coat and like comparing it to like Victorian England and the Queen or something. And it's like those, and for some people that works, is that, and that's great for them that they like, oh, he describes in such detail. I can imagine it perfectly because he's describing everything to me. For me, that it feels
redundant.
Yeah. Well, and it like suppresses my own imagination when you are describing things in such incredible detail that, my imagination starts working and filling in gaps, and then you're saying, nope, you're wrong. Nope, take that out. Nope, change that. That feels bad to me as someone with an active imagination. So again, that's, yeah.
I guess I also feel like with super flowery prose, I'm like, how is this relevant? Is kind of how I feel sometimes, I know it's world building. I know it's like setting the scene, but I feel like you can do that in a paragraph or a few sentences, instead of taking pages and pages.
Yeah.
But I think we're of the same mind. And I also don't want people to come after me for saying any of this. Like your lovely prose all you want, man.
No, I mean,
you're not wrong.
It is just different taste because, like I said, there are still a lot of books. I mean, I read mostly like fantasy and sci-fi stuff. There's still a lot of books in fantasy that are incredibly flowery language, incredibly detailed, incredibly long. I mean, the Brandon Sanderson books are also very long, but and that's fine. That's fine. Lots of people like those books too. That's not the style that jives with me. I think it does jive with a lot of people, and I don't know if it's necessarily always tied to how active your imagination is, or how, I don't want to say like good, but like how much your imagination can fill things in and how much you enjoy doing that when you read. But I enjoy doing that a lot, so I prefer sort of less details in my writing and in my manga. I mean, in manga there's kind of a trade-off, but yeah.
To add to it, I'm also kind of brain rotted from being on the internet, so my attention span has dwindled over the years.
Yeah, that's true.
That's just a personal thing for me.
Yeah.
Maybe that's on me.
Yeah. But on the other side, just to give the flowery language people a thing, I also love poetry, but I think poetry is also a minimalist approach, right? They may be flowery language, but you're not giving very many words to try to describe usually deep and detailed like feelings, right? Like you may write 20 lines about, the death of a loved one, and it says a lot about how you feel, and you have not written very much about it, whereas someone might write essays about it. So I also do love poetry in that sense. So
good chapter of Akane, though.
Cool. Yeah, it's great. Akane Banashi, I think literally the best written thing. I think this might be the best written thing Jump has ever published, if we're being honest. Like again, we talk about One Piece has its ups and downs and is also very, very good in its own way, but this is like, we're only 120 chapters in, and this is like the 9th or 10th time this series has blown me away with how good it can be.
Well, bro, let's not drag One Piece. It barely has downs.
Yeah. It's the only other thing I feel like I would bring up to be like, yes, the writing is on the same level. So
yeah, Akane is just fucking solid.
It's so good. I cannot wait. This is getting an anime late next year, maybe 2026 early. I don't know. This is gonna be awesome. So. Cool.
I think the voice actors will have to do a lot of carrying. Anyway,
this is going to be performance of a lifetime for them. Anything else though on Akane before we go? Cool. Let's talk about a little bit of news. We got some news in the manga world here. We do, so the upcoming 3 episodes we'll do, I think, are going to be covering the new series in Weekly Shonen Jump. The first series that is up in our next episode will be Ichi the Witch. That is by Iruma-kun author Osamu Nishi and the Act Age artist Shiro Usazaki. That has a lot of hype around it. I have seen fan art for it already. It has a fun name. I think, and if you're reading it in Japanese, I think the name would be like Ichi no Wichi or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it is, but...
that's cute. Also, like, we need more, like, enough Exorcist stuff. More little witches is what I say.
Yeah, well,
more
and
little witches.
The 3 series that we have gotten announced does not contain an Exorcist manga. So I am already standing and applauding for that. I'm so tired of those. But yeah, so look forward to that the next 3 weeks. You will get us covering those and those chapter 1s in a lot of details. So Imperial Cabinet, which we covered, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, that is on Manga Plus over here in the States. That is changing to a monthly serialization. We weren't super positive on it, and I read chapter, I think, 2 and 3, and it's still not, still a little strange and boring in my opinion, but maybe monthly serialization gets it to find its footing a little bit more, and maybe people in Japan like it, I'm not sure, but we were just whatever on that one, so.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan.
Let me cough it out. Psych House ends with only 17 chapters. That, as you're watching this, that occurred yesterday, last Sunday. That is unfortunate. Also, that series did not jive with me or us very well, so it does not surprise me. That is not something that I think Jump audiences would ever like. So,
that's tough.
Yep.
But I also didn't like it too much. So
yeah. Jumping over to Weekly Shonen Magazine, Honeko Akabane's Bodyguards is starting its final arc. I think this is a good series. I think this is going to be, I guess, a shortish run. I need to get back into this because I read the first, 20.
It's not like an axe. It's just.
I think it's just ending. I mean, it'll end, I think, around like maybe 150, 170 chapters. It's been around for 3 or 4 years, so.
Jeez. Okay.
Or maybe two and a half, something like that. But yeah.
Wow, that's a lot more chapters than I thought it would have. Okay, never mind. I thought it was like a monthly or a bi-weekly thing.
I don't think so. I think it's weekly. It might be bi-weekly.
Okay.
I don't know. I'll have to check it out. But
I have to read it. I've only read like the first few chapters. So.
Yeah, I really liked the couple of chapters I read, the first 10 or 15 or so. So
yeah,
we should get back into it and see what it's like. We got an announcement for the Iruma-kun spin-off anime. That was announced. So that's not Marimashita Iruma-kun, I don't even know what it's called, but it's about some side character. I think you're familiar with it, right, Gautam?
It's like an alt universe Hitman Reborn situation. For other people get that, Bruce. It's a Hitman Reborn situation.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's basically Mafia Iruma.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, cool. We also got Togashi dropping the absolute funniest volume note ever, which just says, "Please note that God Freaks did not appear in volume 38. Thank you for understanding." Which is so funny. I love Togashi, even though it's so funny, man.
I can't tell if he's like intentionally being like knows he's being funny man. About it.
It's so funny.
It's really funny. It's really. Thank you for understanding. Why draw him then? Why did you put him on the?
Well, he's on the cover. He's on the cover, and he's not in the volume. I don't know. There
are other main characters. Why that cheap?
Yeah. It's also one of the worst volume covers I've ever seen in manga ever, to be honest. So that guy has a tough time. Man. I feel bad for him most of the time.
It's fine. His writing makes up for it.
Yeah. I accidentally opened the game. Okay. What else we got? Twin Star Exorcist has ended. That's a manga. I never read that, but I know a lot of people liked it, so that one's over.
To be honest with you, I thought that ended like 5 years ago.
I think it went on break and then came back and finished out like maybe this year. I think that's the one I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of a different one. I don't know. Like we mentioned earlier, Attack on Titan mentioned a new project on September 9th. So I guess on the day this video releases, there will be a new project release. So we'll talk about that next week. If it's interesting, if it's a pachinko machine, we might not. Last piece of news here. The Insomniacs after-school creator Makoto Ojiro and Anohana writer Mari Okada are starting a new idol drama titled Shistar Jisuta. That is a human drama about an idol and the people in her family who create costumes. That's a pretty stellar combo right there, I think.
It is. And as much as I guess that synopsis doesn't capture me right away, those are talented people. So I'm kind of excited and I'll definitely be keeping up.
It's funny for me because I really, really enjoyed Insomniacs After School. I did think that it had a little bit of a rushed ending. I did not love the last maybe 3 chapters of it very much. But on the other side, Anohana, I thought is just okay most of the time and then has like one of the most exceptionally strong endings in anime that I've ever seen. Like, again, that's one of those like tearjerker type animes with like a dead little girl and all the high school friends getting back together and stuff. But it was one of those things that I like watched and I remember thinking like, I know this is trying to get me to cry and like I can tell that it's trying to manipulate me and I could tell that the whole time. And then you get to the last episode and I was bawling. I was like, okay, it doesn't matter that I know that they were trying to do it. They still pulled it off. So
I don't understand this tear manipulation rhetoric that everyone says it. It's not just you, Bruce. It's just things are meant to elicit emotion. It's not manipulating you. Everything is manipulating you.
Well,
in that case.
Yeah, it's a very particular thing you can catch on to where it's like, I don't know, it's like a trying too hard thing. And that's just an execution. It's really just a description of like how good are they executing the thing. And I think when you are just short of pulling it off, then people go, I can tell that this is fake and that it is trying to like make me feel X way. Or it's like, cause it's like, yeah, you know, like
but people say, watch one episode of Your Lie in April and they're like, yeah, this is manipulating me to tears. And I'm like, you watch one episode, bro. Cause it's like, come on.
Yeah, that was me. I watched one episode of Your Lie in April and I go, I know exactly how this is going to end. And I do not want to watch it.
Well, okay, then your opinion on Your Lie in April is less valid.
The only opinion I have is that that first episode tells you exactly what you need about the whole series. Like,
to be fair, you can see exactly what it's going to be. But with that said, it also Anohana me in that I did cry by the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of those things is that sometimes like, oh, I can see exactly where the story is going, and I think that's okay, right? Like if they pull it off and you make you feel and show you the things that you thought you were going to see, who cares? Like that's. They're going to destroy the ring at the end of Lord of the Rings. It doesn't matter. It still feels good and is cool. Like that's
it's about the journey.
Journey before destination. That's a Brandon Sanderson thing. Cool. I think that's it for the news. Let's talk about what we've been doing. I have not been doing this, but I am, as soon as we're done recording this, going to go and download and play Astrobot because I have heard nothing but incredibly stellar reviews for this game.
Is that out? Oh my, okay, I'm excited too, because
I think it just came out. Yeah.
Astro's Playroom, if anyone has a PS5 and hasn't played that tech demo or whatever it is,
so good.
Controller demo, it's like, yeah, it's better than like most of the games of the PS5.
It's like the second or third best PS5 game I've played, and it's free on the system.
It's really good. Play Astro's Playroom if you want like a sample of what this will be, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, and from what I've heard
fun.
is that this is like even better. Like people are saying it's like there's like 170 like PlayStation, like named PlayStation characters in it, like as bots and stuff. Like you can see who's over here. Like you can see Kratos and Aloy. And this is Nathan Drake,
Uncharted.
I think.
Yeah, Nathan Drake.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited to play this game.
It's gonna be
awesome.
cool.
And like, man, I haven't played a platformer since like Mario Odyssey, and Mario Odyssey was like 6 years ago, dude.
I think you should support like platformers because they are historically like falling off the face of the earth, and also it's whimsical and cute. Give it a shot. If it's good, give it a shot.
Basically, everything I've heard about this is like, look, for basically 30 or more years, it has been Super Mario is the king of platformers and everything else is second place. And the highest praise I've heard for Astrobot is like, this is as good as a Mario platformer, like a 3D Mario platformer. They're like, this is as good as Galaxy. Big. This is as good as Odyssey, which is wild. So yeah, I think I got to play it.
That's big. Those are staples, right?
Yeah. And like, honestly, yeah, the best 3D platformers, like if you were just to list them, top 10, like 8 of them are Super Mario 3D games.
Yeah.
So, cool. Tell me what you've been doing, Captain.
Yeah, I actually saw this movie. It's really funny that you put this picture here.
I was just like, oh, he's been playing tennis. Oh, the Challengers thing right there.
Yeah, this is a weird movie. It's a bizarre movie. I actually liked it a lot, though.
I've heard it's good. I haven't. I heard it's good. But...
It's good. It's a good movie. It's complicated. But yeah, no, I've been playing tennis. That's it. It's not a video game. It's just like the game tennis. Yeah. That exists. That you hit the ball with the racket, and then you hit it back the other way. And you get it between the lines and stuff. It's been fun. I am 32. If you're 32 and you're listening to this, and if you're older, maybe don't go as ham as I go sometimes, because I threw out my shoulder last time I played, not this time. Oh. No. Just know that 20-year-olds are invincible. You can go ham, 20-year-olds. And if you're a teen, you can go even hammer. Yeah. But if you're 30, don't go that ham, dude. Trust me. Take it from me. Yeah. Just lose the point.
You lose physical capabilities slowly, starting at about 29. So
yeah, exactly at 29. Yeah. Like God designed humans that way to get fucked as soon as they turn 30.
Exactly.
It's a malicious God we have.
There is also easy mode tennis called pickleball that is very popular nowadays.
Know what? Take that word out of your mouth. Everyone is peddling pickleball to me. The big pickle industry is trying to kill tennis. Fuck pickleball.
I don't know. My like 60, I guess how old is he? 65-year-old uncle. Like he's played pickleball for years. He's like, oh, I love pickleball. It's so great. It's like, oh yeah. It's like, it's old guy tennis. Like small, it's easy mode tennis, I think. It is just tennis on a smaller court where you like don't have to like run around and slam your knees and stuff, right?
That's true, but I also have to share courts with the pickleballers. So if you could berate your uncle for enjoying his fun activity, I'd appreciate that.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Cool. Anything else on tennis?
I guess watch Challengers. It's actually a pretty good movie.
Yeah, I've heard it's really good. I want to watch it. I've seen some scenes from it that seem really good. Some of the tennis stuff. So cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's get out of here then. Thanks again for listening or watching, everyone. Don't forget to leave us feedback, comments, upvotes, likes, subscribe, thumbs up, all that. Check out Twitter, check out Patreon, link in the description. And thank you again for being with us this week.
See you later.
And don't forget to read more manga.